Hey, welcome back to another No BS social media update. We're kind of dovetailing on last week's discussion about percentages and strategy, if you will. And a lot of these really all kind of tie together. We just try to hone down on one subject a little bit more each week. But this kind of dovetails because I actually had somebody bring up to me, and we were talking about social media strategy, and they were asking, well, why is it that sometimes you can have a strategy working and then all of a sudden the strategy stops working? Why is it that it seems to be going one way for a long time and then all of a sudden it dries up? Here's the blunt, true answer all there. Depending upon how many people you're interacting with, depending upon which social media channel you're utilizing the most, and you could be sharing some of this content across platforms. I mean, a lot of times I'll post a picture on Instagram that also goes to Facebook and also goes to Twitter. You have to understand the nuances for each individual platform, for each individual social media site, but not just the nuances of that site. You also have to understand the nuances of how it works for you. So there's a lot of there's a lot of times I spend a lot of time crunching numbers, trying to pile through numbers, trying to find patterns. I mean, much like anything, and think about doctors and scientists, and please don't for a minute think I'm trying to compare this to being a doctor. But a lot of times what they do when they're doing genetic research, when they're trying to find cures for cancer, is they're trying to find things that happen the same time, that replicate themselves. They're looking for those genes that when something happens, or when they're looking for a cure, if they add something to it, it changes it, and it changes it all the time. Well, we're looking for that same kind of thing too. We're looking for ways to do things, and I don't want to say to become a machine, but almost like, becoming a machine where every time you do it, you're going to get a certain result. At the end of the day, and as I've said, this is a human thing. Social media is so human. There are so many factors that play into, well, your fan base. I look a lot of times, depending upon whether across America, if I've got a country music artist who's, always gets some good visibility in certain parts of the country, whether it's the Northwest, whether it's in Texas, whether it's in the Northeast or whatever. A lot of times, depending upon what's happening weather-wise in those areas, will determine if the fan base is actually there paying attention. If there's a severe snowstorm in Ohio or in Pennsylvania or in New York, your fan base there isn't going to necessarily be worried about checking their Facebook page to see what you're up to. They're going to be worried about making sure, well, they've got warm clothes, that they've got the snow shoveled, that everything's good, and that they're safe. I know we want to think what we're doing is the end all be all, and everybody's going to pay attention, but let's be honest. It's not that way. At the end of the day, I always used to say when I was in radio, it was funny. You would think that we'd give somebody $1,000 and they'd be excited, and they were. But if you gave them a pizza and a video rental at the time, they were equally as excited because you gave them a night out. And really, when it came down to it, they didn't necessarily have the money to buy a night out, so that was almost priceless. It was worth much more than $1,000, which for sure they could have gone out and had multiple nights out. But if they had $1,000 in their pocket, wouldn't they go buy shoes for the kids? Wouldn't they go buy something or pay a bill? So it's kind of interesting where you have to look into all those nuances of your campaigns, or I shouldn't use the word campaigns. You have to look at all the nuances of how you're doing things, when you're doing things, and why you're doing things. And at the same time, just because you've been able to replicate it 90% of the time, it doesn't mean all of a sudden it stops. Your fan base is changing. It's evolving all the time. You're not talking to the same 10, 20, 50,000, 100,000 people every day. And when you throw in Facebook and where it's only going to so many people, and usually it goes to the people who interact with you more. I mean, it's amazing. When I share something on my company Facebook page, I normally reshare it on my personal page because I have a lot of people who are my friends who don't follow it, and I want to get the boost out of it. And that boosts my visibility, that boosts the sharing. But then when somebody else shares it, it boosts it even more. And the more shares you get, the more visibility you get. That's how Facebook works. Same thing with Twitter. It's a matter of, it benefits you to have something retweeted, but only if it's by somebody who's got a lot of followers. So you have to look at the nuance. You have to look at the numbers and say, oh my gosh, why did that matter? I did some graphics, over a year ago now, when they had the horrible tornadoes in Oklahoma. I had some country music artists who were Oklahoma-based, and I just put together some quick graphics, threw them up, and gave people the ability to share them, use them. And I was amazed at the amount of people who I didn't know shared them, because all of my contacts shared them with all of their friends, and all their friends shared them, and it was amazing. It was probably the biggest 2 weeks of social sharing I'd ever seen for my company site, which we posted them on Facebook, we posted them on Instagram, we posted them on Twitter, and just got huge results and saw huge spikes in visibility. What we didn't see happen was huge spikes in people following us. because what they were really interested in is the content. They weren't really interested in us, and I understand that. And you sometimes have to take that with a grain of salt. Anything to get your personal brand, your business brand, whatever it is out there is going to benefit you. So sometimes you're going to feel like, well, you're doing this for no good reason at all, and sometimes it's true. There is no good reason, and you're talking to, well, nobody. But when it clicks, it happens, you ride it. That's what we're talking like with viral videos. You can't really create a viral video, but when you create something and it goes viral, you enjoy the ride while it lasts. You try to replicate it, but you can't always replicate it. Same thing with social media content. If a post falls flat, it doesn't mean it's the wrong post. It just may have been the wrong time, or it may have been what was going on in your fan base. There's a lot of data you got to crunch. This isn't just simple. Again, part of the strategy is understanding the nuance, the essence, the quirks, if you will. See you next week with another No BS social media update. Want to find out about us? Come and hear the credits at the end of the video. Tell you everything you need to know, how to call us, how to email us, how to get a hold of us so we can talk to you more. Please leave a comment. Please come back next week.